What's the most ridiculous way someone reacted to being told no? My neighbor tried to have me arrested for chemical warfare because I wouldn't give him a plate of my chicken curry. I was standing in my apartment building's conference room while a health department official, 2 police officers, and my landlord reviewed my neighbor Greg's formal complaint about my toxic cooking emissions. Greg had compiled a 70-page document with timestamps of every single time I'd cooked dinner in the past 6 months, complete with his symptoms ranging from mild headaches to what he called temporary paralysis of his sense of joy. He'd drawn diagrams showing how the curry particles traveled through the ventilation system directly into his apartment with intent to harm. The health department guy kept rubbing his forehead like he couldn't believe this was his life, while Greg presented his evidence with the intensity of someone prosecuting a war crime. This whole insane situation started 8 months earlier when I made my grandmother's chicken curry recipe for the first time in my new apartment. I was trying to impress this woman I'd been dating by cooking her dinner instead of ordering takeout like always. The recipe took me 4 hours because I had to keep calling my mom to ask questions about whether the onions were brown enough or if the sauce was supposed to be that color. The smell filled the entire hallway, and honestly I was worried people would complain because it was pretty intense with all the spices and aromatics. Instead, Greg knocked on my door while I was mid-cooking and said the smell was driving him crazy in the best way possible. He stood in my doorway practically drooling and asked what I was making because he needed to order from whatever restaurant I'd gotten it from. When I told him I was actually cooking it myself, his eyes went wide like I'd just revealed I could perform magic. He asked if I had enough to share because he hadn't smelled anything that good since his Indian coworker brought lunch to the office years ago. I felt bad, but I told him sorry. My parents were coming over to meet my girlfriend for the first time, and I'd only made enough for 4 people. Greg's face completely changed like I just slapped him across the face with a raw fish. He asked if I was sure I couldn't spare just a small plate, and I explained again that my parents were literally parking downstairs right now. He mumbled something about neighborly courtesy and stomped back to his apartment, slamming the door so hard my girlfriend asked if everything was okay. The next morning, there was a note under my door saying my cooking had given him a severe migraine and asking me to refrain from using strong spices in the future. I figured he was just being dramatic, so I ignored it and made curry again the next week because my girlfriend had loved it so much. This time, Greg called the landlord claiming I was conducting unauthorized commercial cooking because nobody would use that many spices for personal consumption. When that didn't work, he started documenting every single time I cooked anything, posting in the building's Facebook group about toxic fumes and deliberate harassment through cultural foods. He called the fire department saying he smelled gas when I was cooking, but they showed up and just asked for my recipe. He reported me to the health department for running an illegal restaurant, but the inspector literally asked if I did catering. He started leaving printed articles about spice allergies under my door and would dramatically cough whenever he saw me in the hallway. He even tried to get other neighbors to sign a petition banning what he called aggressive ethnic cooking, but everyone else just wanted to know when I was cooking next so they could enjoy the smell. When Greg finally called the police claiming I was using my cooking as a form of targeted harassment and possibly manufacturing illegal substances with all those suspicious spices, I decided I'd had enough of his ridiculous vendetta. I came to the meeting with my laptop full of evidence, including footage from my Ring doorbell camera. The first video showed Greg standing outside my door for 13 minutes straight on multiple occasions, his face pressed against the gap under my door, deeply inhaling like he was trying to vacuum the smell into his lungs. The second showed him going through my garbage at midnight, pulling out empty spice containers and photographing the labels, then Googling each spice on his phone right there in the hallway. But the best evidence was Greg's own Instagram account from 3 months ago, which my girlfriend had found when she was investigating his weird behavior. He'd posted a photo of himself at an Indian buffet with the caption, "Finally found curry that reminds me of my neighbor's cooking. Been craving it for weeks. Might have to come here every day." The comments showed him asking the restaurant if they knew anyone who cooked privately because he was desperate for home-cooked Indian food that smelled like what his neighbor made. The health department official watched the Ring footage of Greg sniffing under my door for 13 minutes, then looked at the Instagram post about craving my curry, then back at Greg's 70-page complaint about toxic fumes. The 2 police officers were leaning forward to get a better look at the screen. My landlord was covering his mouth with his hand. The official set down the papers very slowly and took a deep breath. Full story on the channel below.